Good evening. This is the City of Sunbury Services Committee meeting for July 1st, 2026. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Capel?
Here.
Mayor St. John?
Here.
Mrs. Crawford? Here. Mr. Ghost?
I'm here.
Mr. Grumney?
Here.
5 present. We have quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our June 3rd meeting. Could I get a second? Second by Mayor St. John. Roll call.
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Ghost?
Yes.
Mr. Grumney?
Yes.
5 yeas, motion approved.
All right. Now, right off the bat this evening, we have a follow-up from our last committee meeting with e-bikes legislation. So you're going to take this one, Mr. Standard? Well, thank you.
Yeah. Dude. I'm going to run through the first couple slides pretty quickly, not to rehash. These will land probably on slide 4, 5, and 6 and have some conversation there. So with that, I will begin. Again, we wanted to improve the safety of pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. And we also want to make sure that our residents and our police are fully updated and everyone is aware of the rules in place so that we can enforce them and then they can also be followed. And then we also want to align our regulations with Ohio law. The next slide simply is just a breakdown of the different classifications of e-bikes as well as the we call them micro mobility devices, which is segways and also scooters. Third slide, slight revision from the last time. We've heard some feedback from the committee and council, and it was apparent that there wanted a desire to strike a balance with the allowability of scooters and segways on some sidewalks. So with that said, you'll notice the allowance of low speed micro mobility devices such as scooters, as well as electronic personal assisted mobility devices and segways are now permitted on a shared use path and a sidewalk. Now keep that in mind because there is a tag to that later on. It's just not a blanket allowance for all of those. So this slide here, we'll probably park here for a little bit longer. It changed the matrix associated with it. So traditional bikes obviously allowed in sidewalks, street and roadway, and also on shared use paths. Nothing's changing there. E-bikes permitted on sidewalks. Preface this: e-bikes with the motor off, so the motor is not engaged, is permitted in all of the areas as well. E-bikes with the motor on are not permitted on sidewalks. They are permitted in the roadway, and then they are prohibited on the shared use paths. Scooters, you'll notice these have changed. Before they were not permitted, but they are now permitted on sidewalks, streets and roadways, shared use paths. And I believe I've made an error, streets and roadways. I'm not certain that they are allowed on the roadways. I'll defer to Vic there.
Yeah. Actually, that would be one of the updates where under current ordinance, they would be allowable.
Okay.
Under the proposed new revisions, and that would be in 37310 C would remove them from being operable on a street or roadway. If that makes sense.
Apologies there. Caught it. So scooters allowable on sidewalks, not allowable on streets and roadways, but they are permitted on shared use paths. Again, motorcycles and mopeds, really not addressing that necessarily within this ordinance, but it has come up with the electric motorcycles. We just want to make sure that it's clear those are still considered motorcycles, not e-bikes. So they're really covered under a different section of our ordinance, and they are not allowed on sidewalks, and not allowed on shared use paths. The only place those are permissible is on streets and roadways, and they should be considered the same classification as a gasoline powered motorcycle. So just again, highlighting that. Next slide. This changes the language a little bit. So this is just a reference to our codified ordinance 331-37, adding shared use paths and then identifying where these items are allowed and where they're not allowed. I won't land too long there. We'll move on to the next one. This is the piece that we took the feedback from you all. It sounded like you all wanted to have some allowability for scooters and segways to be on that are under some type of motorized operation on our sidewalks and our shared use paths. So we took that, but we also realized that we want to have some guardrails in place. So we put in a new section 331-38, some standards. This will give our police some guidance for enforceability. So these items are permitted within those areas. However, as you can see, there's provisions that classify as unsafe operation. And if someone is found in violation of these, it would be a minor misdemeanor. I'll run through some of those that are considered unsafe operations. Include failing to yield to pedestrians, traveling faster than conditions safely allow, weaving through pedestrian traffic, passing without sufficient clearance, causing evasive action, distracted operation, or loss of control. So really, we try to give the police department some guidance, but as well as some teeth when they're enforcing this. We did give this to the police department for feedback. They felt that these provisions fit in their parameters of enforceability, and then also checking with Vic, who is in charge of our mayor's court, where these would be heard, felt that these were sufficient and enforceable from a legal perspective. So with that said, again, minor misdemeanor associated with those. Willing to edit any of those, or if you find these appropriate, we can certainly leave those as they are written.
Sean, is there something there about, like, I see them, I don't see any of them stop for stop signs. But I don't see this under unsafe, it would be like abiding established traffic rules, or, and these, or is it? Because again, stop signs is a big problem. I mean, they don't even slow down. They just go through them like they're not there, so.
So I'll follow up with a question. Are you referencing stop signs on a roadway?
Yeah.
So if
Is that
they're
just
in a
normal
roadway,
traffic law?
yes.
Okay.
They would have to follow and abide
Okay.
by all traffic laws. If it's referenced to a roadway, yes.
Okay.
I had a recommendation for the unsafe operation. We've noticed this a few times around our house recently, is multiple passengers. We saw 3 girls on one e-bike crossing Cherry Street the other day, which was
That's
crazy.
a daily occurrence.
Yes.
Like saw parents and like little children
That's not,
still riding like kids up
Mhm.
front too.
Mhm. It's all the same thing.
All out. And we can certainly put that in just to underscore that it could be considered reckless, which they may have some availability, but if it's a pervasive problem, we probably need to identify it head on and just identify that. So certainly add that bullet point into the changes. You also, I believe in your packet, will have a copy of the e-bike ordinance, the red line version.
Yep.
So it has the very specific wording in there. Next time when you have that, if you so choose, we'll have that edit made to it.
Well, what about the helmet usage? Does that already exist in, I guess not traffic law, but in, I don't know, bicycle law?
Great question. I'll defer to Vic as far as state regulation required for if you're on a sidewalk or on a shared use path. I believe if you have an e-bike of a certain classification, it does require it. But then again, any e-bike with the motor engaged would not be permitted on either of those areas. However, within the street, I do know that there's traffic laws that are associated with certain requirements with a helmet. But what my guess is that if you're on a shared use path or a sidewalk, a helmet is not required. But again, I'm going to defer to Vic on that.
Class 3, I believe it is for all operators and passengers, the class 3 electric bicycle. I don't believe the state law is for class 1 or class 2. I can double check on that. I will do that. So it is categorized by the class. That's how it's set forth. So Sunbury could be more restrictive there. Interested in having helmets on the lower class bicycles, that's something that would be permissible to do.
You just don't want to see somebody with a serious head injury or worse because they aren't wearing a helmet.
Absolutely.
You want to add the unsafe operation. At first, we just had this under motorized scooters and segways, but we decided to add them to just regular bicycles as well as e-bikes with the motor not engaged. We felt that that would allow our law enforcement team to be able to have some teeth and act upon an issue where you just have a regular bicycle that's not following or abiding the rules. The idea here is to make things safe for the pedestrians and the motorists as well. So that is also included just regular bikes as well as e-bikes with the motorists not engaged into the unsafe operation piece. So.
If you talk about that education.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Yes, if there aren't any other questions, we can certainly come back if there is. When discussing this with the police department, Different Chief Wade had graciously and suggested that there needs to be a public education piece with this. Their team is ready and starting to prepare some of that educational piece. I think in the conference call we had, there's been some suggestions about showing some video associated with some situations that have happened, whether it be here or anywhere else, just to give some real life examples of how dangerous these items can be. And so with that said, summarize that we will have an education piece prior to it being rolled out and enforced. The police department wants to have the ability to educate and also help the public understand why we're doing this and the importance of it. So that has landed more in the police department's role. I would believe our school resource officers will be a part of that conversation, and they would probably be best to act with the youth. So I'm excited to see what they come up with, but in the discussions with him, he's already started to look at that. We got an email today that he's reached out with SAFE, Delaware County organization that has some resources as well as some legal resources on some challenges that they're seeing, but also some educational pieces that they have for the public. So
It's part of the health district, right?
that
Safe is part of the health district, I believe.
I believe so.
Because like a branch of the health district.
I'm not sure, but I know on an email, the health department was tagged in this email. It was an extensive change. There were employees of the health district that were on that email.
I read the email just as I was leaving the office to come over here. It is, let's see, Jackie Bain, Community Health Specialist, Safe Delaware County Coalition, which I'm assuming is somehow tied to the Delaware Health Department. So it looks like he's got some resources there and he's already reached out. So that's great.
And Judge Hemanowski of the Juvenile Court Division was actually on that email too and described they're dealing with this issue, as you can imagine, extensively now without a lot of clear guidance. And he raised a lot of the issues in the email that we're discussing and you are mulling over right now. So yeah, this is a lot broader than just Sunbury at this point. So fortunately that should provide some help and some guidance and potential other resources outside of the city to help assist with this.
Maybe at some point, can we get a little bit more detail on what the police plan to do? I mean, I heard what you were saying, like putting out a video or something, or if they're gonna say, I don't know, on these days we're, I don't know, talking to kids at this camp or in all the schools. I mean, it'd be great if we can get a good kind of regimen in place, so it's not a one and done, and not everybody has like the same access to internet and that type of thing, and their parents may not be tuned into it either, so.
Yeah, we'll have the police department probably prepare something for the next service meeting. I was assuming they would be here tonight to give some feedback. They are more working or more dealing more with this than we are, because this is more on their police level. But I don't want to speak for them out of turn, but certainly have them next safety and service.
We'll work on them.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for the update.
One of the places where I feel like we're a little vague still is on the scooters specifically. So I know that, and maybe I've just missed it reading through the legislation and through your packet, but there's a couple different varieties of electric scooter, and maybe it's addressed in the device weighing less than 100 pounds in section 181, 301, 181. But some of these larger scooters, especially the type that they use as rentals and such, are very, very much the same as an e-bike as far as how fast they go. And when I see them on campus, they're routinely limited to the roads, not kept off of the roads. So I'm just curious if we need more specific language regarding scooters, because I'd hate for that to fall through the cracks. There's some of those in town, I know.
Doesn't mean, and we will definitely look into that. That's a great question. You know, as these devices have all kinds of different powers and
Oh, yeah.
speeds and but under existing ordinance, if it does not meet the limitations which would qualify it or categorize it as a low-speed micro mobility device, it would likely be a vehicle. So as a vehicle, it would be regulated as per the other vehicle. So again, if it's on the street, it would need to be licensed. It would need to be, you know, go through all of those. So it would potentially be operating illegally on the street if it's not a street legal vehicle. So but yes, we can definitely look into that in more detail and perhaps update language, because again, in the vein of clarity, you know, do people understand that if,
Yeah.
you know, by, you know, if it's not this, does that mean it's automatically something else? And it's not necessarily clear. So I think that's a good point.
Other than that, I like where this is. Do you have any other questions? Is that it, Sean? Or are we good?
That is all we have. There's no further questions.
Any other questions?
Take the feedback.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to me getting lost in my packet is what that brings us to.
Yeah, page 18.
Great, thank you, Carl.
All right. I know last month we breezed through some of the leftover services items. So this is a slide from last week. I just wanted to remind everybody that at council 2 weeks ago, we did award with an emergency a contract to Danbert Electrical for the installation of the new signal on West Cherry Street. It's been very helpful, you know, between then and now. We've already gotten some of the contract paperwork back, and we'll be working on getting an exact schedule back so that we can get those signal poles and other traffic cabinet items that have a long lead time ordered as quickly as possible. So just wanted to remind you, the signal, the realignment of Cheshire Road, that's what we're going to talk about for the next, we'll call it few minutes, depending upon how many questions we have as we go through the slides. Go ahead and go to the next one. So I thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about the realignment. I believe this group has seen in general the concept that Cheshire Road is going to be realigned with the Hitachi Asimo driveway off of West Cherry Street. That's where the traffic signal is going to be, dead center at the top of the picture. And then the changes at that misaligned intersection where existing Cheshire Street meets at a 45-degree angle, West Cherry Street, we're going to have some changes there too. That will become a right out only, and there will be no southbound motion available because it will also be a one-way. So let me say it like this. As you are heading east on West Cherry Street, you will not be able to turn right onto Cheshire Road in that location where the yellow light is currently blinking. Same if you're heading westbound, you will not be able to turn left onto Cheshire Street in that location. There are little dots in the top right-hand corner that are showing you where a median will be present to discourage that motion, as well as if you pull out of Cheshire Road and you want to turn left, you would hit a curb. Also with this realignment, you can see the new intersection that will be formed. And I know the streets are difficult to read, but at Stone Creek Way, which is going to be that parallel street just below the Bell store, the gas station, and the New Cheshire intersection. The location where you see the red hatched lines, that is showing where the realignment is going to start, and there will be pavement removal in that location. So we're anticipating some very important communication for the community. As a reminder, this was all identified as part of a traffic impact study with the development of Kittner Crossing and Kittner Commercial. It identified, of course, the warrant for the signal, as well as improvements at that existing Cheshire Road to either eliminate the intersection altogether or do what we did, which is provide a ride out only. All right, so this is the end product this is the goal that we're going for. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'm estimating December 15th, we can have substantial completion, but we do have to have a few parts and pieces fall into place. And that is highlighted on the next slide.
December 15th, this should be all in place, or?
Yes, as long as we do not have bad weather or there's a significant supply chain. There's always a caveat with construction.
Plus or minus.
Yes. But the fact that we were able to award that traffic signal, that to me is the critical path item in order to make sure by the end of the year, we can have the traffic pattern realigned and accessible for all traffic. But I'm going to go through the different phases and different options to try and navigate it. And it is color coded. So let's start with the blue. It's a little difficult to see. But the blue is phase one. This is the most critical item to discuss right now because as you can see in the red text, the contractor is proposing closing Cheshire Road for 4 weeks in order to get the realignment completed ahead of school. There are a few different ways that this could be done, but this certainly accelerates the impacts and puts us in a situation where we are not trying to flag and do special detours during the school year. So I'd like to get your opinion on this kind of as we talk about the different phases. So again, that blue box area would be completely closed. Where that red hatching was located, and you can see it through that phase one blue box, those residents and their driveways, they would be maintained. So the residents would have access to their driveways except when they are pouring a new driveway apron, which is pretty common during construction. And we would be working with them directly on those impacts. Otherwise, through traffic will not be permitted, as well as access onto Fox Trail Drive. Thank you. The other impact, as you see further to the north on Cheshire Road, there is a drive access for the businesses on the corner of Voss Brothers location. They do have another access off of West Cherry Street, and we need to just propose to them that that is their only access during this time. But that's some communication that we still need to do outreach on.
Friends who share as well.
I'm sorry?
Friends who share.
Yes, they're located down and around the backside, right?
Yeah, and there's actually on that part that's being closed off. I would just make sure Friends Who Share and Voss Brothers are directly in sync. You can get to it around the Voss Brothers building, but it'd be an abnormal movement for a short period of time.
Okay. No, absolutely. We'll definitely notify all the businesses that are on that corner, especially if they would have access to that driveway. You can see there's supposed to be stars all along the houses, the business at Voss Brothers and Friends That Share, as well as Hitachi Estemo, and then there's an automobile impacted property west of the Bell store. All of those locations need to have some early communication. I did pass out a frequently asked questions, which goes through common questions for this type of construction project that after I get feedback from services, tonight, if we are in agreement to move forward, we would distribute tomorrow because that 4-week closure is being proposed from July 13th through August 11th. 4 weeks of construction in order to get that done before school, which happens a week earlier than I had anticipated since my kids don't start until the week of the 20th. Yeah, they would need to get moving very quickly, and we'd want to get communication out there as quickly as possible. I believe a lot of the residents and community members that drive this area know that something is coming. You can see the construction in that location, and I do have a picture depicting the current construction situation, which we'll go to in just a moment. On the right-hand side of this exhibit, you can see a detour drawing, not the prettiest, but essentially during the closure, phase 1 closure, the black line indicates that traffic will be detoured down Domigan Road to Cheshire and vice versa. So it is a little bit lengthy, but we want to avoid using residential streets to try to weave traffic around this area. Certainly traffic is going to figure it out and find a way, especially residents in that area. However, the official detour and signage will be to use Domigan to Cherry and Cherry to Domigan in order to get around. I did draw in the pink lines, the Kintner Parkway and Stone Creek Way, just because once phase 1 is open, traffic will be open from Stone Creek Drive onto Cheshire Road, southbound and northbound. But essentially, they will have access to the Kintner Parkway traffic signal, and that will be a full access signal that buses, emergency services, anyone will be able to utilize instead of going all the way down to Domigan Road. So that will be a proposed route once school is back in session. So instead of using the signal that will be built at Hitachi Asimo and in line with New Cheshire Road, they can use the existing Kintner. They would just have to come southbound and turn left onto Stone Creek Drive in order to get over to Cheshire Road. Any questions?
Sharon, walk and talk through that one more time. If you're a school bus coming from the intermediate school and going towards the high school, which is a movement that happens because they do like kind of drop shipping, if you will, with buses, like you come northeast on Cheshire, you go up this stretch and turn left on Stone Creek Drive, right on Kintner.
That is correct. Yep, so that's how you'll get there. So that yellow portion of the drive, it will be barricaded because once school starts, that phase of construction will be next. So you will not have the ability to go forward, and the signal wouldn't be operable by then anyway. So, but yes, that will be the movement that you could make. And certainly if you weren't trying to go to the high school, we will be able to open it to a right onto Cheshire Road as well.
Okay, so if you're going east, you will be able to use that Cheshire blue section because it's reopened.
Yes.
But if you're going anywhere west or north, you would be primarily going on Stone Creek to Kintner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When you explained it the first time, I was thinking they'd take Kintner Parkway and go through the industrial park to get to the school, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it.
There will be shorter distances and multiple ways to get around once we get through the 4-week closure. So phase 2 of the construction, the actual paving and placement of the New Cheshire Road, which is underneath that yellow highlighted box, and the signal will be done concurrently by 2 different contractors. So Savco is the contractor for the developer and is putting the road work. And then we have awarded the signal project to Danbert. So we'll be coordinating construction with those crews. And I just had a conversation earlier this week with Savco in order to make sure that we are communicating and doing the best we can while we have construction in in a limited space. During the signal installation, as well as the phase one work off of Cherry, we are not anticipating closing West Cherry Street at all. They are to maintain traffic to the best of their ability in both directions. The median could be a little bit tricky because the median will be between the north and the south lanes on West Cherry Street. But they'll do the best that they can in order to get that installed and allow the maintenance of traffic to get through on that busy road. Any questions before we go to the next? Right. I also went out into the field today to take some construction pictures. It was hot. But I wanted to share a little bit of what it looks like out there, because as I talk about that phase one construction timeline, 4 weeks in order to get that amount of road work done, that is moving very fast. But because there's construction already happening on the private side of this, when you're standing out there, you can see exactly where the roads are going to be. They are preparing for it, and they are going to have it ready to go as soon as possible. So they were out there today doing some rolling and moving some dirt all the way to the right of way, awaiting the final approval to move forward with the road closures and the phasing. I did want to share, this kind of shows you that green star is where I was standing. So when you look to the west, that would be the yellow in the picture. I'm facing Stone Creek Drive. It is very hard to see in the background, but the curbs are already there, as well as the base course. The only thing, the final pavement, the top layer has not been laid down because there's going to be heavy construction in this area. But I was able to drive. You can't really see it, but my car is right there at the edge. So they don't have to do any additional construction on Stone Creek Way, in order to make it drivable once they install that connection to the realigned Cheshire Road. The pink picture, or the pink circle, as you look north, again, it's difficult to see, but when you're driving along Cherry Street, over the existing barricade. I don't know why I'm not thinking of the
Culvert?
Nope, the guardrail. Over the guardrail, you can see the road is already in place there for the realigned or new Cheshire Road. So this picture all the way at the end, you can see the guardrail. They're going to leave the guardrail up until they get closer to that location to further deter people from maybe attempting to drive in that direction. But of course, they'll be putting in some deterrent in order to make sure that they're not driving through. But eventually that guardrail will be cut in order to make that connection. And that's what it looks like today. And go to the next. Any questions about this or discussion about the closure of the road? There are certainly a number of stakeholders, ODOT, the schools, fire, emergency services, residents, refuse, mail. There are a lot of people that need to be notified that this closure could happen. But I think we'll get a reward out of it as far as traffic is concerned when school starts, by not trying to maintain traffic in this location and working with the schools through a detour plan.
I have a question on the design. I thought that the section of Cheshire Road that will connect up to the traffic light north of Stone Creek Drive, I recall seeing exhibits that had like a tree line median or a grass line median. It doesn't look like that median is in, at least, and I'm not saying these are technical drawings here per se, but it looks like it's all asphalt. So it'd be like to the east of where the Bell stores are.
But you mean
Zoning, I recall seeing that for sure.
there's a very small tree lawn shown, at least on the property adjacent to the Bell store specifically. It looks to be maybe a 5-foot tree line and sidewalk. We can check that. This is certainly, I had requested an updated, we'll call it pretty map from ENH&T for this purpose. These are not the actual construction plans, so that I could
Right.
show this group and have better presentation for the frequently asked questions. I can check to see what the tree line is.
Can I just ask, like, are you talking about this little median
Yeah.
in here, Mayor? Yeah, that's the one you think there might be a tree.
Correct.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
And it looks like maybe the turn line was shifted a little bit. I understand these are not the construction drawings. I do recall that being discussed when we were talking about the rezoning. Nancy, were you on zoning at that point?
And one that kind of also matched the pattern for the parkway itself. Is there gonna be a tree median in the on the parkway
yeah.
as well? So they would
Yeah, I
kind of
think
just
so.
flow nicely into the look anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can check to see what's on the approved plans. Certainly,
I drove by it today and it looked like they were building the median. I don't, you were in the area taking the picture, but I was driving by and I thought I saw a little raise. I was like, oh, cool, the plan's coming together. I just didn't see it on here, so that made me like raise the question.
I think it's elevated and they certainly are planning on putting in the median because we talked about it with the right in, right out configuration for the Bell store to deter traffic, from making that left-bound motion to go north to Cherry Street. So that median will be there to deter, but I don't believe I recall seeing anything that was going to be wide enough for a tree lawn. So let me take a look at the plans and make sure everybody's on the same page. Now would be the best time to check before they get too far down the construction road.
Thank you.
All right. There's no other questions on the realignment, then we'll move on to other services updates and pavement repair on Golf Course Road.
Yeah, for anybody that has driven Golf Course Road near Millstone Drive, they're aware that the road has been falling apart. We've had many problems with this segment of road over the years. But with the failed asphalt in the curb lane, our public works team was able to go out and do this road repair. They used 5.5 tons of asphalt. 5 team members were involved in this repair, and they didn't need to use contractors, which I think is part of the story. I wanted to make sure everybody understood. In the past, this is something we typically would have had to find a larger contractor in order to make some of these more sizable repairs. So they went through the operation, were able to use flaggers and to install the asphalt repair.
You did a really nice job. I assume you've seen that, Damon.
I am very appreciative of this.
Yeah, very.
Because this is every day, yeah. You either had to go off the road or into oncoming traffic.
I
So
saw Jake the day he was like kind of planning it out. He was standing by his truck by himself like this. Beat at him and he didn't even look. He was deep in thought, but I saw him execute it with his team too. They did a really nice job. So we had a contractor come out and kind of assist with this, or was that all his team?
So in the past, there have been pavement repairs a couple years ago in this location, and the patching had failed. And it was done by a contractor. I don't know who it was that did the work or who inspected it. It was not the city of Sunbury. However, yes, our team was able to go out. We did not have any additional contract help on this. They used all of their equipment except the roller. Yeah, the roller is not ours unless you
That's pretty sweet.
think we need one. So we can do so. They were able to rent that piece of equipment and utilize the tools they had on hands. I know there was this quick conversation about maybe some additional metal rakes that could have been beneficial. So be ready for budget season when they tell us some of our lessons learned for some tools that might make this a little bit of a smoother process. But yeah, they were able to get, I'm only showing one of the repairs, but there are actually 2 patches. And this is the smaller of the 2 because the image on the top right-hand side is from Google Street View from 2024, just so you can have an idea how long we've had a problem in this area to kind of show where the repair is. Unfortunately, I didn't get a picture right before the work was done, but this can at least give you a feel for the disrepair the road was in.
Any idea, how much we might have saved doing this in-house versus contracting it?
I haven't run the numbers, but it's certainly something I can ask Jake if he could maybe put together and we could bring it forward.
They want to come back and ask for more budget, and that seems like it would be some good figures to have. It's nice to see it being done in-house though.
Yeah, absolutely. More timely as well if we can get to it. Because we didn't have to hire someone, in the middle of summer in order to get this work done. So really, really proud of them, and happy we were able to capture some pictures. I did not ask them if I could share their pictures today, so hopefully they're not too upset with me.
Okay, 2026 street improvements.
Yeah, so that's the only one I didn't make a slide for because I talked to my contractor and begged them for a schedule, and I still do not have one. So Decker just got the contract paperwork last week for this project. So they are putting together a schedule for us so that we have a better idea. I only asked for 2 specific pieces of information. One, whether or not they would be able to get to the traffic calming, the paint on North Miller Drive specifically. And they said that they would work with their subcontractor to prioritize that. And then the other piece of information they shared was that if you recall, one of the streets we're doing a reconstruction on instead of just a typical mill and fill. It's South Vernon Street. They don't plan on starting that work until a little later in the season, and they had indicated after Labor Day. So I'll get a more detailed schedule so that we can share that information. Once they're in town and working, doing the mill and fill, they're going to move pretty quickly through the city. So I don't have too many concerns about them starting a little bit later, other than I want the paint on North Miller Drive and the traffic calming to be installed ahead of school starting.
Okay. J.R. Smith improvements.
J.R. Smith, this is another slide that I don't think we were able to talk about at all a month ago, but they are certainly out on the project constructing. I know Alyssa took some pictures during the parks meeting, so she has some more up-to-date construction photography if you are interested in reviewing the parks committee meeting. But I did want to share that we were awarded a $375,000 earmark, which is additional money that can be used on some of the sidewalks in the park. The path extension from J.R. Smith Park to the Ohio to Erie Trail, not along 36, or not along State Route 37, but further back to the east in the park. We can use some of the funding for landscape or tree improvements in the area, as well as the asphalt around the Lions building on South Morning Street. So very excited to have that earmark money. We talked at Parks a little bit more in depth about this topic and how we'd be discussing utilizing the fund based on how we applied for the money awarded and how much time we may have in order to get some additional work done.
Columbus Street Corridor Study.
Yes, so this is another one that I don't think we got to last month, but the Columbus Street Corridor Study went through the quality-based selection process. We had 12 submittals, which is really exciting. Also a lot to read. So we went through and scored all 12 of the proposals, and we are in discussions for a scope and fee for a potential consultant, which means hopefully we will have a consultant on board within the next 2 to 4 weeks. And the wastewater, treatment expansion, next major dig is what I called this. Clarifier 3, if you can see the green arrow, you know, it blends in a little bit there. That is going to be the location of a 70-foot diameter clarifier. Just for size reference, the existing clarifiers, if you follow the arrow straight over, thank you, with Alyssa's pointing to it with her mouse. Those clarifiers are 45-foot diameter each. So the 70-foot diameter is going to replace what would have been the equivalent of adding 2 more 45-foot diameter clarifiers. So a lot of digging is going to be occurring and has already started to occur over at the wastewater treatment plant. And then because we were in such a hurry, if you check your packet from last month, I did include an updated map or schedule, but if you need one, feel free to email me. I'm happy to send you a digital copy.
Then we'll look ahead for August.
We look ahead for August. All of this. Normally I'm rushing to get through the presentation. We don't even have a chance.
I was gonna say, making decent time today.
Great. So we do plan on bringing some information about traffic signal updates. I know we had some funding opportunities that we were interested in, but also some additional applications that would like to go after in order to look at some of our traffic signal improvements and the timing of those. I believe Mr. Bremney had shared some information at State of City, so we want to make sure we're following up with that item. And then the city entry signage, this has to do with putting in new monuments or signage as you enter into the city. But I believe we'll also be touching on some of the signage for parks and to highlight our city-owned buildings.
And that's a topic coming up for us to just discuss.
Yeah, there'll be some visuals. We'll bring in some examples of signage to share so that you can see kind of what our consultant has started to consider. This information was also shared at the Parks Committee, but we are looking more for, you know, the services aspect, maintenance. Certainly we want an opinion on how they look as well. But any other safety concerns or advice that would come from our group.
I remember talking about that in streetscapes, so it's nice to see us moving forward on those then.
And then just generally, I should have the street improvement program timeline. So as I get any construction projects and information, I will share it with this group.
All right. Any questions from the committee? Oh, good. Then I will make a motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. Ghost. Roll call.
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Mr. Ghost?
Yes.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Grumney?
Yes.